Discord.
Together too.
They think I'm already in the
your
group.
stuff and get it together. Luckily for me, if you have not subscribed, you're probably seeing the commercial right now. But if you haven't, welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am Kalari Gamer Chick. I am definitely ready to party, dear. Let's make sure the chat overlay. Yikes. Come on. There we go. And transition. That's a little bit smaller, but that's because my screen is smaller. I just wanted to show. There we go. That's a lot better. Alright. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Bonnet Chronicles. This is going to be a little bit different than before. I am trying to focus on keeping it on the camera part. I've got a better quality camera right now focusing on me too. And I'm going to show things and try to, start up the chat right. As you know, this was a really hard week for a lot of us. If you're a survivor of molestation or sexual assault, this was not an easy week for us. And it just shows how much justice system needs an overhaul. Not abolishment like some people want to cry, not abandonment, but an actual overhaul by people who want to see those who commit crimes, especially sexual crimes, serve their due justice. And while I say that, I'm going to bring up this bullcrap. Now, if you don't know, let me transition it over. There's a tweet from Miss Felissa Richard that basically says this. Finally, a terrible wrong is righted. A miscarriage of justice is corrected. And if you don't know, a few months ago, not even last month for Mother's Day actually, well technically 2 months ago because we're in July now. Hey G Feldman, welcome to the chat. There was an issue where a friend of mine posted Phyllis Richard in the Cosby Show to say something about Mother's Day. And then a very well-known tweeter who is a very open spokesperson for the LGBT, who happens to be friends with victims of Cosby's attacks, went on the attack of Miss Richard's character, saying that she was an enabler, she knew and helped cover up a lot of slanderous things about Miss Richard that she couldn't back up. And I understand being somebody who survived sexual assault, being upset about what Cosby did, and understanding the duality of how predators tend to surround themselves with people that only see their good side so that they stand up for them. And that's what I tried to explain to this person. But once again, because of this idiotic tweet, and welcome to the chat, Beans, that Miss Richard put out, which she followed up with an, okay, take your time, we'll be here for about an hour. But she followed up that ridiculous tweet with something saying that she stands by the victims, that she didn't mean to be insensitive. But the problem I'm seeing is that there are a lot of people, especially white people, who are acting like this vindicated the person who I won't throw her name out there because I ended the friendship. I don't want people dogpiling. I've seen the back and forth. I extricated myself from this as much as I could. I just knew, like many others, this person would go around acting like they were vindicated. You're not. There are still a lot of people in my community, sadly, who feel like Bill Cosby didn't do what he did. And I'm here to tell you that the reason he was let off was a technicality. The man admitted to what he did. He admitted to every victim. But because what he said could incriminate him, and we have some twisted law in our system to where self-incrimination can be thrown out, that is why he's free right now. That is why his victims, who thought they were finally going to see justice, and many victims who never see justice, are just in disbelief and upset. So if you want to go blaming people who don't really know any better, who seem to think that they got to stand by somebody just because we have the same facial tones and skin tones. If you got to attack his co-workers, who once again were probably groomed to protect him and believed only the good in him, fine. I can't stop you from that. But Phylicia Rashad did not do what Bill Cosby did. She is not responsible for his actions. And people need to stop shifting the blame from the predator. It is so exhausting, and that's why I didn't want to deal with Twitter. Exactly, Beans. And she did it on Mother's Day when we were already dealing with so much racial tension. When black women, which is going to come full circle in everything I got to talk about tonight, are constantly shit upon, even though you got people who are literally cosmetically changing themselves to look like us, or as close proximity to us as they can without being complete culture vultures. Black women are constantly disrespected. We are constantly abused by people who swear up and down that we have magic. But the magic is only good when we're saying what you want us to say or doing what you want us to do. I said it yesterday in a tweet, and I mean it. The strongest black role models, especially with women, are those who do what they do no matter what. It doesn't matter how you find your happy. It doesn't matter how you make your coin. If you're confident in your blackness, you are a better role model, especially for young black girls, than any of these, black women. I wish we had more black women role models who are prim and proper. We have black women who are judges. We have black women historians. You don't want to talk about them. But let a black woman make her money, shaking her behind, showing body empowerment, and then all of a sudden she's not good enough. No, if you're black, be black your way, because there's never a perfect way for people. Like for me growing up, being a black nerd, being into comics and anime and video games, that wasn't good enough. You stop. I was always called Oreo or something out of who I was, and I suffered from a lot of identity issues because of that. And it was from the people who were just as dark as me, if not darker. But I had to act a certain way to be black to them. And I realized, no, I cannot disassociate from who I am, and I'm not going to. And I am not going to let somebody tell me how to be. Welcome to the chat, Jazz Fresh. For real, it is so frustrating to have people constantly trying to tell you who you are, and it messes with your mind. And with this thing with Cosby, it was like this years ago when I said it, because I knew, being a victim, there was something not right about that man. And I have family members tell me, these women just want money. No. Even if it was one, I would believe it, because a lot of men like Bill Cosby use their fame, use their ability to act, use their celebrity status to cover what they do. Thank you, G. Feldman. And they motivate and cultivate fans to only believe in the good in them. And in our community, people will rather embrace somebody with over 50, damn near 60 victims of what he did, over somebody who's openly LGBT, over somebody who's openly nerdy, over somebody with open mental health issues. The shit y'all embrace because you think it's showing unity by embracing somebody who's famous but ain't shit. Like you do with R. Kelly, who is a pedophile, whether you want to admit it or not. I don't care if you think his music's a bop. He likes to diddle kids, and it's not okay. But let somebody be openly LGBT. Let somebody be open with their health struggles. And all of a sudden, you ain't got that unity for them. So you can miss me with praising Bill Cosby. And this is hard because a lot of us, especially Gen X, grew up influenced by his shows. Not just the Cosby Show. I know some of y'all know Fat Albert. Some of us who were heavy set as kids had to deal with being called that because kids are cruel and assholes. But I love that show. I love the music from that show. I used to love the beginning of that show. He had a strong influence on our lives. And it's hard for those of us, even if we hadn't survived being assaulted, knowing that somebody that we appreciated as children and growing up could do something like this. So it's like I said, I don't appreciate people gloating and acting like the insanely insensitive tweet Miss Richard put out on the day this travesty happened. But it does not justify your thought that she was covering for him. And I do not appreciate anybody weighing in that her believing that he did nothing wrong because he got out on a technicality equals she was complicit. And that's all I'm going to say about the subject because it hurts. Next month will be the 30th anniversary of what happened to me. I was 14 years old. You never get away from it. You just have less days of memories of it. You learn how to work your way around life when you don't feel safe. When somebody touches you, it makes you recoil. When you have nightmares about what happened. And I know that people who have gone through this understand this when I say it's a life sentence for us. So it kills me that people are like, well, he shouldn't die in prison. But for the rest of my life, I'm going to remember what happened to me. And it's only amplified by the fact that my mental health tends to mentally block certain things. There are certain memories my mind literally puts away so that it protects me. But I still remember this shit. How fair is that? It really is. And I know the reason why I can detach beings is because of what happened to me. Part of my ability to detach completely from a situation, completely and emotionally shut down, is because of what happened to me. On top of the schizoaffective disorder, but that definitely did not help the situation. I call it just going away. I just go away and I retreat and I'm able to handle a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean the stress doesn't build up, but it just means I know I can get away from something even while I'm going through it. And it's ridiculous that people don't understand that our justice system really needs people who are actually for justice. Because there's no reason why somebody can confess to that many crimes. And just because they have the means to get away with it. And this is going to really get tied into the heart of tonight's topics. Because for real, a lot of people are now using Bill Cosby's thing to act like they know about justice and how black people are affected by it, how wealthy people versus poor people are, and they're turning everything into class warfare again because we have a problem with the cosplay socialist far left blacks, and it kills me. And I tweeted this out too. I did not want to keep talking about these people. I said it last year, I want to be done. Their malware messiah lost twice. Not once, twice. But he just doesn't go away. Even if he's not being propped up by the media still as, I'm just going to be a thorn in this administration side if they don't give me what they want. His swarm of bots and misinformed people still get on Twitter saying racist things. Like that ass clown calling James Clyburn, because I'm not related to him, so let me be a bit more respectful of this man. James Clyburn is a house N-word. And you know my stance on using slurs. But this obviously young white man then followed up his slur by saying, well, I've done things for the community. Whose community? I don't know you, man. And I'm pretty sure no black person knows you. And if you did know black people, you wouldn't feel so comfortable using the N-word for somebody who is revered and respected because he does the work. Ever since Bernie went to South Carolina assuming that just showing up and saying free this and free that to people who don't believe you, and got schooled about compassion and empathy and actually talking to people in a way that we know you're actually talking to us. Ever since the kingmaker, James Clyburn, said the person who is going to win South Carolina will win it with black people, his little Bernie brats have been on the attack. And it's insidious. And it doesn't help that our media is constantly writing hit pieces about Kamala Harris, which next week, y'all, because I really want to read the Bernie brats tonight and I don't want to conflate them. But next week, we are going to talk about being a black woman and being a black woman in power and what it means. Because I am tired as a black woman seeing our successes downplayed, dealing with the misogynoir that is normalized by our society. Y'all don't want to be us, but you want aspects of us because you know we set the trend. You know we set the style. And you know we get the job done despite being hated for it. But the problem with people that call themselves far left, Justice Dems, the cosplay socialists as I call them, is they love to act like they are rooted in altruism. They love to believe that, oh, we just want free healthcare for all, without understanding that our healthcare system, while it is a mess, I know I am disabled because of my mental health, yet I can't be covered by any of the things that I should be able to be covered for healthcare because they don't consider mental health tangible enough to cover. So I have to have backup insurance just to see a doctor so that I'll fucking snap. So don't tell me I don't understand the need for universal health care, but I'm telling you something else. I'm a black woman. I'm a black woman who had a very bigoted psychologist tell me that I was too smart to have schizophrenia. I'm a black woman who has gone to hospitals who didn't want to help me with issues because they weren't sure if the pain I was having was real because they didn't know if I was faking it for drugs. I am not a drug user. One of the things my general practitioner said when she went over my chart, she goes, you don't drink, you don't smoke, you don't do any drugs, you don't have a history of this stuff. What do you do for fun? And I told her, I am a nerd. I collect comic books. I watch anime and I read manga and I cry at it. That is what I do. I grew up with people who got strung out to escape things. People who really didn't have to because they had charmed lives, but they just couldn't handle the pressures of having to try to be perfect, I guess. I don't know. I can't understand why they did what they did, but there's a reason why I've never fucked with controlled substances. I had easy access to them, but my mind can already go non-lucid without it. So I didn't need any amplification of that. And it was like I explained to a friend this morning who was asking, her followers about why people don't give edibles and other marijuana-based products a try. And when I was really in a bad way in Florida and couldn't get sleep and the manic and the schizoaffective was really bad, a friend of mine did give me edibles and it did help me sleep. But I freaked out on him because I don't want that. And I don't want that because of the stuff I dealt with family. So I understand that universal health care would be nice, but until we deal with the universal racism, especially the localized racism in our country, it doesn't matter if there's a universal stamp, if a doctor won't see you or treat you, if nurses act like your pain isn't real. You just want to ignore the fundamental issues because you know that universal health care will help you. And that is why I say, you fake your agendas with altruism. Another thing is this whole abolish the police thing. And bringing up the crime bill versus our now president, Joe Biden. I am from New York City. I grew up in New York City during the 80s and the 90s. Some of you might have heard the name Bernard Goetz. He was on the subway. He was commuting. He swears 4 young black men tried to rob him and he had to shoot. People were divided in New York over this because this shit happened. I remember being a young girl being told, don't wear loose chains like this. Even this, something like this, would have had to been tucked under my shirt. Purses, yeah, you want to risk it. And being certain places at night, people love to believe that New York was always this tourist mecca. Like, you could go to Times Square any time of day now and take selfies and get the I Love New York shirt to feel like, oh, it's fine. But I remember when New York was the Wild Wild West. I remember this was a housing project in Staten Island, because that's where I'm from. You know, the borough that's known for Wu-Tang and the biggest garbage dump, because it is a garbage dump. There was a project that my dad lived by called Park Hill. Park Hill was bad, y'all. Blood in the stairways bad. My mom, for as messed up as she could be back in the day, used to make my father promise not to take us anywhere near the Park Hill project. And of course, he never listened to that. He had to do his business there. So we got to see a lot of things, including raids, including having to get down onto the ground. South Africa and apartheid. It is like that clip of Whoopi Goldberg schooling that young man, and I don't want to get his name mixed up, so I'm calling him that young man, about standing on the elders and stepping in their shoes without walking the path that they've walked. A lot of these young people are coming from a place of not knowing what it's like to be gay bashed, not knowing what it's like to see mass graves because of the AIDS conflict, not knowing a New York where you could be on the beach and get a hypodermic needle in your foot. So beaches were out for us for the longest time. There was a reason for the crime bill, y'all. And when you throw it up and I look at you and I can tell you're a kid, all I can do is say, you just don't know. And your malware messiah helped sign on that crime bill. And I see that a lot with the far left too. Anything Bernie does, he's immune. He could be co-signed on the crime bill. He could be down for illegal dumping in minority areas in Vermont, which they ain't that many. So why did you pick the only one to do that? Everything he does is supposedly golden. Billionaires and millionaires suck until you find out he's a millionaire, and then, we only want to go after the billionaires. It is the same BS over and over. But the primaries made it worse. One of the things that I had an issue with now VP Harris was when she came out. She first started out with that Green New Deal BS and that Medicare for all. And she, unlike some people, which I will go to my grave saying, a good leader listens and changes with the people who need them. They don't just stick to something because everybody they think wants to hear it hears it. They mold themselves to what is needed. They don't tell people, you just have to deal with what I want you to deal with. Unlike a certain senator from Vermont who still says Medicare for all, even though they've been proven that it's not a feasible plan. But one of the things that people attacked Senator Harris about was she changed her Medicare for all stance and came up with Kamala Care. And the pitchforks and torches came out then. They couldn't call her a socialist anymore because she never called herself a socialist. And she wasn't going to suck on Bernie Sanders' decrepit old tit to get what she needed to get.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that for a second.
No, I'm trying to keep it clean. And then you have Liz Warren, who all of you know how I feel about me, Ma, and her antics. But what they did to her was so unfair because while she was Bernie's cheerleader, they wanted unity. Maybe she'll be his vice president because they never wanted to see Liz be president. Their whole plan was to use Liz to prop Bernie up. But the moment Liz started pulling away and doing it for herself, and one of the things I don't like about Liz is she knew Bernie did not see her as presidential material. She even whined about it after the fact, that Bernie did not believe women should be president. Much too late, since you wanted to be Wonder Twins with him. But they called her a snake. All the emojis about how she's a backstabber, and a lot of yous with your blood in tooth, like I didn't know what that was. You see, I know that there's a lot of open K-Hive members that have the emojis, that have the stickers and stuff. I don't like that click stuff, so I don't do it. I don't have to have a special emoji to be there for Senator Harris with receipts or to back up fellow K-Hive. I use facts. I don't need to be a part of the group. I learned my lesson forming groups for political reasons. You get burnt really quick. And there are still way too many egos. And there are way too many of y'all who get into fights with these leftist brats for my liking. I don't have the energy for it. And every other day, if not every day, because I've been taking time to enjoy my man being here permanently, to not be on Twitter, honey, to not be in the middle of who's fighting who. But as you can see, it never ends. I'm going to show this current moron just briefly. Not this one. Let me exit out.
A different moron.
A different moron, yes. This one. I'm sure most of you have seen her. I've had her blocked, but like everything, people screen cap. Her thing is the K-Hive. The K-Hive are... It didn't show? Oh, okay. Let me...
We know you're talking about an idiot here, but we don't know which one.
Okay, let me show. This current idiot. I'll leave it up for a few more seconds. But their rallying cry against the K-Hive is very funny because they love to say that our pushback attacks them. And it's a constant with these types. And I thought about it because I went to my phone and I was like, I could pull a bunch of receipts on for years of their nonsense. How we're on plantations, how we're low informed voters. I told myself last year, I am going to stop amplifying these people. When I see a hammer or sickle anime avatar that isn't talking anime, when I see a socialist hashtag, whether they're proud or in between, they get blocked. No more amplifying them, no more engaging them. I had a young man jump into my thread yesterday about how they fake altruism and hyper focuses on the squad. Because that's another thing the left like to do. Especially if you're a POC that'll do the shuck and jive for them. Like Nina, I don't know my identity unless it gets me votes Turner. As long as they have a black or brown or ethnic face that says what they want them to say, you're golden. But if you happen to be a black person that knows that I need actual practical progress, that I know I can't get everything I want, but if I get stuff that helps everybody, we're all uplifted, that is better than just my pet peeves. The problem with the far left is they really think that we don't see that their stuff is just palatable bigotry. When they talk about student loan debt, even though black women currently are getting degrees at a higher rate and pace than a lot of other demographics, when you throw that in my face when I had to pay my own way for college, and I'm not saying this to say people shouldn't be broken by this current system, but you're not going to sway me about your whining about getting a liberal arts degree breaking you because you decided to take out a loan without reading what you were signing, versus the fact that I am more scared that my son isn't even going to make it to college because a bigot with a badge can take him out. And out of every single black death we've had, from legalized lynching, bone in the nose guy who tried to tell me what lynching is, because the far left seem to think they can tell a black person who's going through it what we know. Until we get more people doing any jail time, I don't want to hear what you have to say about a man who literally kneeled us.
Hopefully.
This is just okay. I'm gonna get rid of Discord too. Maybe
just post some other stuff up there.
Yeah, maybe that'll help loosen it up.
The sources are still red on it, but
yeah,
just be an internet issue.
I just don't understand what's going on, and it's very frustrating right now. Because, this whole thing really is something important to me. The whole issue with the far left and the stuff they say and the disrespect that they give to the K-Hive, who the majority of us are diverse. Even though a lot of us are black women, we are a very diverse group who wanted to not just back then Senator Harris, now VP Harris, but also combat what we knew was going to happen, what we are currently seeing happen in our media. And to have these far leftists use people like the Squad, who, as y'all know, how I feel about these young women wasting representative seats while getting nothing done. It is just frustrating right now, and I don't know if I'm live still.
Yeah, I think they might be able to hear you, but it's just not doing anything with the picture.
Okay. I don't know what to do. This is so frustrating. There we go. I think, there we go.
I think you're back, You're good.
Alright. I just think that people need to understand the attitudes. Because when you read the stuff they tweet, like, Mr. Clyburn isn't stupid. He's just a bad person. He decided long ago he would rather get rich off of farmer cash than to fight for marginalized people. And that was from Elias Cepeda, I think his name is. And Bernie Sanders has taken over $1 million in donations from pharmaceutical companies. But it's never bad when he does it. But if you can use it to attack a person of color, especially a black person, yeah, they do that wholeheartedly. And that's why I said they are palatable bigots. And they want to act like we don't see it. You want to know why, despite going into our spaces, despite getting idiots like Killer Mike in his pocket, and even Homeboy from Fight the Power. Oh gosh, why am I blanking on the name? Public Enemy in his corner. Despite getting two really not that notable anymore hip-hop stars in his corner, black people need more than you telling us, I'll give you free this and I'll give you free that. You can't tell me about free college when I'm more worried about shopping for a coffin for those I love. You can't tell me about free healthcare when the healthcare field constantly disrespects me as a human being. You can't call the racism that negatively impacts my life identity politics. Thank you. Welcome to the chat, Charlie Soso. And that is a problem with Bernie Sanders, and that is a problem with his supposed legion of fans. And I broke it down several times online, the way they do things, the way they jump into notable people's threads to start fights with them. And then when you link them the sources are never good enough. So they move the poll down from that. They love the sea lion, the what ifs. Well, this pre-OC agrees with me, like I said, about the free college, because I keep explaining to people, it's not free. The money's going to have to come from somewhere. And they want to throw up, well, black women would benefit from it. Not if they're dead. Because they're laying in bed with their partner, asleep, minding their own business, and a no-knock raid snuffs their lives out. There's nothing free college can do when college isn't even on the books for you because you're living in an area that don't have decent education, has food deserts, because grocery stores don't want to be in neighborhoods that are too ethnic, that aren't affluent. You know those code words that you don't think we know means white and black. You think you can dog whistle as good as the right, but you just don't. You come into our neighborhoods, you call yourself hipsters, you gentrify our areas, you throw us out of already struggling neighborhoods, and then you act like, oh, why can't you have anything? You're constantly drowning our messages with your self entitled call the manager bullshit. You know why I don't say abolish the police? I've been the victim of crime. I have family members who have been on both sides of the law. I know that justice is needed. It's just a broken system. So instead of backing people who only want to yell abolish because their whole thing is burn it down, get people in who can structurally reform, rebuild, take the influence away from the police unions who are truly corrupted, and get work done. And that's another thing the far left try to hide about themselves. They love to act like they're doing things because they put hashtags online. I love to call them the slacktivists because that's what they do. They can talk up a storm. They do YouTube and other stuff, but they aren't out there actually organizing. And you know how you know this? Look at the poll numbers for Sanders in the primaries alone. 13 to 14% in most states when these idiots had us thinking we were going to bend at the knee. Do you all remember that bend at the knee stuff? Because I do. I remember being told I was going to bend at the knee when he takes over because that makes sense in politics. They don't operate on reality. Very selfish and entitled, G. Feldman. And their whole fascination with socialism without understanding that the socialism that they are twisting, democratic socialism, is nothing like the hammer and sickle bullshit that they keep putting out there because they think communism is a like one size fit all ideology. And in a lot of countries that tried socialism the way they think socialism would work, people are in abject misery. And as somebody who is already on the lowest societal rung when it comes to respect, when it comes to just surviving, I am not putting in place something that will only elevate people like oligarchs and then keep hardworking people in misery. I don't want to be a cog in a rusty machine. And that is what you are pushing. But that is because you have spent a life getting what you want and thinking making demands is better than actual progress. True progress comes in incremental steps. And if it's too slow for you, imagine what it was like for the LGBT who couldn't marry who they wanted to marry, who couldn't even be openly gay, who had their lifestyle and who they are classified as a mental illness. Imagine what it was like to be black in this country. You just want to act like Jim Crow was that far away. My grandfather went through Jim Crow after serving in World War II fighting actual Nazis. Had to come back to fountains that he couldn't drink on, places on the bus he couldn't sit. But you're going to tell me that it's distant history? My great-greats were slaves. And I'm pretty sure I'm saying great-greats, but I mean great. We are not that far removed from our country's history, no matter how much you want to make it that way. And none of you have any energy for stuff we really need, like gun control, reparations, regulations of these power companies and other bills that gouge you. You just want to talk about economic anxiety. Some of you don't pay bills, and you can tell. But you just want to talk about free this and free that. Who's going to pay for that free? Because it's not going to be free for most of us. It's going to be on the backs of the essential employees who have to work and who are one paycheck away from being out on the street. But who cares as long as you get that college debt waived. Who cares as long as you can see a doctor and do what you want? You don't think we don't see the selfishness? That's why you're always shocked when we turn out for somebody who actually talks to us like human beings, who doesn't dismiss our pain as identity politics. You get surprised when we don't play our hands too loudly because we're busy organizing. We're busy seeing who needs help getting to the polls, who needs help reading what's on their ballot by getting them the sample ballot and explaining frame by frame. You don't see because you don't do. You think everything is just supposed to fall in place because you're used to people handing stuff to you. But those of us who have lived this life, who know you don't get something from nothing because you have to work towards it, we're doing the thing because our lives depend on who is in that White House. And after we have lost 600K and rising from incompetence, I have never put my hands in the louder than the message types. You might get your occasional squad and Justice Deb member in a safe district where they can squawk and go on MSNBC and other news sites to talk about, I'm going to stall this bill because I can't get my pet peeve into it. If that pisses you off, instead of retweeting the AOCs and the Talibs and the Omars and the Presleys, instead of getting mad at the Young Turks and giving them their hate follow and amplification, look for the Chantel Browns. Look for Lucy McBaths. Look for Sarah Lerners. Look for the people who aren't in the media because they're busy getting the job done. There are plenty of politicians out there that just want to legislate. They want to get bills like the George Floyd Act passed. But they're being stymied by those who want to be Instagram influencers and pad their partners' pockets with campaign funds. But y'all don't want to talk about that, do you? No, you just want to amplify loud. You just want to amplify grifters like Sean King or Nelson Scamdella, as I like to call him, or Crooked T. Washington is really my favorite. Washington Scam, actually. It's always the people who are way louder than the message they claim to care about that I'm always leery of. And some of you think that you're helping by arguing with these brats. No. I realized 4 years ago, and especially last year, that all it does is exhaust energy that I do not have in abundance. The older I get, the less I'm going to waste my time and energy arguing with people who just want to call me a shit lib, a neo-lib, on the plantation, and other offensive racist stuff. If you're going to look at a black person and honestly say that they're on the plantation, knowing the historical connotations of that, you're a shit person, you're a racist. Whether you feel you're not a racist because you have BLM in your profile. It's gross. And you're gross for saying that. But you don't have any problem typing that to black people. Why? Because you're bigots. And you don't want to say it. It's why you were so okay with that one reporter or journalist guy posting that horrible sod 30 to 90 days Assad or 30 days Assad meme for Pete Buttigieg, because you don't view us as human. When you reduce our lives to identity politics, you are telling us who are marginalized you do not view our issues that are literally killing us and dehumanizing us as human issues. You are bigots. And that is a problem that your people need to solve. It's why you can say things like, well, it doesn't matter if a person's a Nazi. And honestly, this happened. This happened a few days ago, right before all this injustice stuff with Bill Cosby dropped. A dude literally tweeted to people that it doesn't matter if a person holds Nazi and white supremacist leading. Let's get him in on the Medicare for all and we can change his mind. Yo. What the heck? What are you on at this point? Because there are plenty of far-right people who are like middle of the road. They're bigots, but they don't think they're bigots. But when somebody declares themselves an open Nazi and white supremacist, and you think that healthcare for all is going to sway them from their bigotry, you're part of the problem. You're the reason why cops like that asshole thinks he could kneel on somebody's neck for 9 minutes to get away with it. You're the reason why we can't get legislators in to pass acts to punish people like that. Because you don't view us as human. And you think we're stupid. You call us low information, but we study. We want people who talk to us, and we want leadership. And we know not every leader is going to be perfect. Because unlike you, we don't live in that fairy tale where a president's a dictator and just makes stuff happen. Exactly, G. Feldman, block and report. But some of you seem to think that a president is just supposed to be this perfect being. And let me tell you something. If your malware messiah would have became president, we would be at war right now, because you know what makes money? War. You know what keeps profits going and economy stimulated, sadly still? Fighting and conflicts. And I don't want it to be like that. But leaders know that they don't have a choice in this matter. And they have to make tough decisions that aren't always going to help or make people happy. Joe Biden is not here to be your grandpa or your daddy. He's not here to make you all happy, but he's showing way more empathy than we've gotten in 4 years. You realize how long it's been since we've seen the president go to a place and didn't make it about him. Hugging people, letting them know it's going to be all right. Empathy. But he also had to go back to that White House and order strikes, because that's what leaders do. They make hard decisions that he is going to have to live with. That's why most U.S. presidents age visibly after just the first 4 years. Because you are making tough decisions. You are doing actual work. But you don't want to think about that. Because everything is purity and it's a magical fairy tale land. You need to get with reality. And that's why I call you kiddie table politics. And I don't sit at the kiddie table. I just get so riled up by their antics, because it pisses me off how much progress they have stymied in the last few years with their antics. An election that we should have had in the bag. They stayed home and they tried to act like they helped us. You helped us into fascism. And the only thing that saved us was that it was incompetent. So don't you dare come at me about low information, because it's low information to back a leader who thinks they alone can solve problems. It is low information to only want to hear what you want to hear, to dismiss receipts as being bullied. Man, if you want me to bully you, I can bully you. I know how to bully people. But if I come to you with an article of sources and it's not good enough, then I don't know what else to give you, man. And I'm tired of going around in circles with people who don't have a good faith argument. You only want to hear what you want to hear. And I'm sorry, I'm black. I am used to taking what I can get and embracing the incremental steps, because I know where I came from. I am not far removed from my history. I know that with the wrong type of leadership, we could go back to that and worse. There are people right now just plotting to get a takeover where they can tell black people where we can sit, where we can stand, how we can look, that our lives are disposable. And I don't want those people in power. And the only way to stop them is to make sure that I vote in people who want to do the job. I told you last week, and I will say it again. I don't want a rock star. I don't care if I 100% or even 50% like somebody, as long as they're getting the job done. I didn't like everybody that had a D by their name that ran for president. But you know what? I respected the majority of them. Al Gore. I don't know why I was going to say Dan Quayle, because that man's an idiot. Al Gore was the most boringest politician I ever met in my entire life. He was a passionate man, though, about the environment, about economics. And I feel he would have been a good president for us. But he wasn't as megastar as the man he followed. Mr. Bill, I'll play a saxophone on Arsenio Hall Clinton. And the problem I have with Bill Clinton is a multitude of problems. But he was a good president, whether you want to accept that or not. I was making money towards the end of his presidential reign. And I say reign loosely because I mean actual administration. I was young and I was making really good money as a bookkeeper during the tail end of the Clinton administration. He was a hard act to follow. You can't go from Slick Willie to, well, I kiss my wife sometimes, but I really want to talk about the environment and other stuff. Just trying to copy Al Gore made my brain want to fall asleep. But he would have got the job done. And I'm sorry that he didn't light people's fires. My main problem with him, especially since I was in Florida and I voted for him, is that he didn't fight hard enough. Because that hanging Chad BS pissed me off. He should have been president. Just like Hillary Clinton should have been president. And I know it makes certain people mad when I say it, but deal with it. Popular vote and the fact that they found Russian interference. You know how much stuff had to be used to take her down? That should scare y'all. That this country is so willing to not have a smart, capable woman in charge that they will allow foreign interference and all kinds of shenanigans. And I'm telling you right now, we're going to stop that. We are going to shatter that now cracked glass ceiling. I am not playing, y'all. We are going to say Madam President a few times before I leave this world. We are going to say, we're going to swear in an LGBT president before I leave this world. Because the times are changing. Whether you change with them or not, it's not our problem. Progress does not wait for anybody. And true progress is not louder than the message. And it helps everybody whether they want it or not. And that's another thing these far left brats don't understand. True progress isn't just for you. True progress helps everybody. True progress lifts everybody up. And it's not just targeting us versus them. Oh, they got more money than me. I should hate them. Economics. Let me tell you, somebody who went to school for finance. If you have more smoke for Jeff Bezos and you ignore the fact that there are bigots in your own social circles that are far more detrimental and dangerous to progress, I don't have anything to say to you. Because Jeff Bezos, despite being somebody I probably won't ever know or want to hang out with, he has programs for those who need help. Because of him, I use Amazon Prime. Because people who are on certain assistance don't have to pay full price for it. There are programs that he uses to actually help people, but y'all don't want to think about that. When was the last time Bernie set up anything for low-income people? When was the last time Bernie even looked at a disabled person as anything but a photo opportunity? You have all the smoke for the so-called billionaires like Bill Gates, who, while on a personal level, yuck, on a business level, he has done more for charity and charitable endeavors, including kids of color going to school, than any of your squad members who, instead of doing stuff for their constituents, get into fights with them and say, oh, these people are just jealous of me. Miss Omar, get your stuff together, girl. It is tiring seeing people amplify waste of space when we need a solid majority. So you need to be on the ball on who's running in your districts, who is currently in your Senate, and if they are a GQP waste of space or a squad waste of space, you need to see who's primary in them, and you need to vote. Even if you can't donate, I understand. I am on a fixed income. Even with my partner here now, we are trying to save money so that we can move and be in a more peaceful house. So money is tight. Money is tight for everybody. We just came out and we are still technically in a pandemic. So donating to every political fund is not feasible for a lot of us. So if you can't donate, and you can't get out, because it's very ableist to assume that everybody can just go door to door too. You can still vote. And if you're in the state of Michigan, which I'm in, you have no excuse anymore because you can fill out absentee ballots. You can put your name on the list for absentee ballots. Hey, honey.
It's the state.
Yeah, the hand. You can do things to make sure your vote is tallied. There is no excuse anymore. If you are disenfranchised and you know it, you can organize. You don't think black people in Georgia are already getting their battle plans against Kemp's idiocy? Come on now. They were already trying to stop people by long lines. You seen those lines? People waited for hours to vote. You're not going to stop black people on a mission. You're trying to make giving out water a crime? We bring our own. Do not sleep on black people who are motivated to make change. And I'm going to wrap it up by saying this. If you are far left and you see this and you think, oh, I'm going to bother this lady, I'm going to get on her social media or harass her, you better not. I've got the time. I'm going to block you, but I'm going to hurt your feelings too. Because I ain't got time like your mommy and daddy to pat you on the head and treat you like the little prince and princesses you think you are. The world does not cater or revolve around you. It is bigger and more than you. And if you want true progress, you need to make sure that all of your sloganeerings and stuff actually help people and not just you. But until you decenter yourself, you're not going to have the backing you think you are. You're just going to have bots who use you and proud socialists who grift off of you. After my dinner, and I will see y'all online.